So you could have on one tree bed low layer plants with high layer plants, and then in the following tree bed you could have, say, medium layer plants with emergent layer plants, you know, so things fit in without having to be squeezed in.
Forget about sustainability, you want to enrich ecosystems.
Every being is equipped to live a positive, energetic balance.
Keep it pruned.
We are cultivating abundance.
Not a problem to cut down trees, the problem is not planting them.
So guys, just very quickly, if you haven't subscribed, go ahead and do that now. Alright, it's free. Make that button great and make my day. Follow us and be the first to know when the new content's out. And if you appreciate this video, smash that like button and help us reach more people so others can too learn about agroforestry. And without any further ado, let's get rolling with today's content. Yo, hello Agroforestry Academy crew. Nice to be back here with you on another video. Yes, so we're now here in situ the jazz on the lead up to, you know, the initial of the drought. In theory we have a little bit more rain coming, but you know, in reality we don't see it. Some of us may doubt it. I personally think there will be another rain or two coming. We'd hope it rained up till May, so everything would be cool. Last year it rained up till May in the city, but not in my house, so I can't consider like we had rainfall in May. That makes us, that has a very big impact in saying, that's an extra month on your drought. And if that happens in the other end where it rained and it hasn't rained in your house, as you come out the drought, so that that can really expand. That makes that difference. Obviously the humidity is around, and so we can still play around with that. All right, so a few things has been happening as we do our normal seasonal chopping and dropping of the eucalyptus, and let's say even the bananas, the pruning to prepare for the next season. We've got several videos on this topic. Check out the card here where we talk about when exactly to prune the bananas, and another video in this exact plot a couple of years ago where we're also doing a big prune on the eucalyptus and everything. So there's detailed information on that, on how we went about that and why. Okay, so what I found this time around, that we're bringing the eucalyptus down, I found that the canopy of some of my other fruit trees are reaching heights, and they're actually going to clash now. We consider they're actually clashing with the eucalyptus. We've seen in the past how we planted eucalyptus every meter and a half, and we've been thinning them out throughout the years, and till they become every 3 meters, then maybe every 4.5 meters, and now probably more like every 6 to 10, 12 meters. We like to plant high density. People are often, well, how come? How can you afford to, how can you fit all that in? Well, as long as the canopies are not conflicting, and you can fit them in, one underneath, one behind, below. Sometimes a tree that's underneath, is in the future it will be above. It's just a process. So, we need to manage these canopies, how that transition. You might need a little hand, a little prune there just to pop that over and maybe hold, so there's things you do through pruning. But what I've seen here is that, quite a few fruit trees have reached the height of where I was, capping off my eucalyptus. My eucalyptus are probably about 5.5 meters high. I've seen it where people do a little bit higher, and it would have meant that I could have, produced more matter for a little bit longer. But it also means, a bigger ladder, higher risk, more intense in labor, more qualified, and it just becomes, more complex. You complex the situation. So I think 6 years it's been, I've been very grateful. We've been producing this organic matter from the eucalyptus for 6 years. The avocados that, eventually, and the macadamians and things that are eventually clashing, some of them will, actually produce organic matter in itself. I know avocado produces a lot of organic matter. It's not the case with the macadamia, but the avocado is already replacing. As we bring down some of the eucalyptus, the avocado is really fulfilling that chore. Just so key. I mean, the eucalyptus has been so powerful for us. Don't underestimate the power of the eucalyptus, of these high productive trees, whichever one might be best adapted to your system. Don't underestimate the power of putting them every meter and a half, every 2 meters, really high dense, because for so long, this has been, you know, a great contribution to the feed of the system. You know, we've got these coffees, we've got these other fruit trees. I've only ever manured with external input the first time we planted it back in 2016. So it really has been, you know, alongside with the bananas, a big player in maintaining the health and fertility of this pasture, which I have also been exploring some of the grasses in the middle. So I'm also cutting out grass, but I'm able to put organic matter in the corridors through in the grass from the tree rows, and I've been able to, you know, really balance the account here. So I mean, one thing I did notice last year, you know, obviously every year you just, maybe the drought was even one step further. Yeah, you know, as the eucalyptus really gives you a really high mulching power, you know, really does give you some real volume of mulch. And we all know mulch, what it does. It retains water, amongst many other important things. But you know, this retaining water, this shadowing, you know, is a big contribution in keeping the life in the soil. But when you go 5 months no rain, you know, this quality mulch keeps it shaded, but you know, the drought does get the toll of it. You know, you put your hand underneath it in the final month of the drought, the soil is dry. The life has reduced drastically. It has gone deeper, or you know, it's not there in the surface, easily seen, even though it's under mulch. And we love to, you know, lift up the mulch and show that life. But once you're like 5 months down into the drought and you lift up that eucalyptus matter, it's still kind of dry. So I've clearly made a distinction between eucalyptus mulch and banana mulch, where we have come to the conclusion that, you know, eucalyptus mulches, but banana irrigates. You know, we know this. We know that banana can take, you know, up to 3 months of irrigation pressure off in the drought and things like that. You know, cut it in the middle, feed it back. But in reality and in practical terms, it's absolutely true. You know, and we're going into the final month of the drought, and where we mulched with the bananas, you can lift it and there's life and there's still humidity, right? Obviously, ideally, you got the bananas and then you got the eucalyptus on top. So, you know, the eucalyptus is mulching the bananas, which is keeping the humidity down. So, you know, the importance of the banana, and check out the video of how to best manage them if you really want them to be irrigating and serving you. All right. Now, it's really excellent this time of year. Pruning the eucalyptus, letting the half light, half sun in. Soon we've got the coffees flowering, and you know, for the coffee flower we need to bring the light in. You know, it's been raining, so it's been really closed with, you know, a lot of obviously photosynthesis, a lot of canopies of trees closing up on some of the Mombasa grass. So it's wonderful to have those pulses of lights coming in, so we feel really good about it. But what we have done, we have to find a balance, right? There's a balance you need to find between pruning too radical, because this is it. When you start the drought, you have to make a decision. Prune and put everything on the ground and cover the soil to protect yourself, or, you know, leave a little bit of the canopy so it shades and you have like a fresher, cooler, you know, keep the shade in live form, or keep the mulch and a lot of light coming in and actually punishing some of the vegetation that is from the lower layers. So we have to decide on that balance. So the conclusion I'm coming to now, something I've been doing, you know, this year, is bringing down the eucalyptus now, let's say 45 days before, you know, the end of the humidity, bringing down the eucalyptus now, doing the mulching, bringing in the light, but leaving the bananas. The bananas are not finished maxing out in their growth, you know, for that drought. And the later we can leave the banana, you know, the more humidity we're going to have later on in the drought. So this is the deal. Prune the eucalyptus now, get another 45-day information of humidity, so it gets a nice resprout, even though it resprouts in the drought, it's that vigorous, but it gets a nice information of resprout within this 45 days, and that can give us the shade, and then I can then take down the bananas and then mulch the bananas at a second stage, say in 60 days from now. you know, when I am actually in the drought, use the bananas to then irrigate there forward. So then we have the shade and we have the irrigation, because that's the balance we usually have to find. You know, I'm going to prune everything down, but is the light going to come in and torture, or am I going to leave the soil exposed and leave everything up to shade? So this is it. Do it in 2 stages. You know, that's how we'll be doing it. I've been pruning the eucalyptus, and then, you know, as we go into the drought for real, the eucalyptus is resprouted. We've got a little canopy to ease off the pressure of the coffees and some of that lower level plants, and then prune the bananas, you know. So, and that will guarantee the irrigation, the life in the soil for, you know, longer in the period. That's really cool, that one there. And you know, in relation to thinning out eucalyptus, letting light through, you know, just there is a little chart we can think of. You know, the emergent layers, you know, the very high layer, you know, it should account for 20% of the shading of the system. And then, you know, the high layer underneath that should account for 40% of the shading. And then the medium layer, 60, and the bottom layer, 80, and then ground, you know, 100%. So you get like light coming in, you know. Now I could have eucalyptus every meter if they're small canopies, right? And you keep it pruned, it's still letting 20% light in. And obviously it's a pulse that varies. It goes to 35%, and then you bring it down to 10, and then it grows, and you keep it around about that 20%, you know, obviously with pulses. So you can have it covering 20% of, no, providing 20% of shade for the lower layers, you know, letting 80% of the mass area, you know, let 80% of light come through, and very dense. You can have it very dense and letting that light in, you know, through the management. But as that intensifies, or if you haven't got that labor, then you have to reduce these numbers of the eucalyptus, right? So now we're in a situation, if we have an eucalyptus every, say, 10 meters, then I can allow that to become a bigger canopy. Obviously we'll do that where it's not conflicting with any others, because we also don't want an emergent layer next to a high layer and a higher layer next to a medium layer. We want the emergent layer next to a medium layer, so that there's a gap. And then we want, you know, the higher layer next to a lower layer plant, you know, so they're not like, so you're not having to really force too much of the pruning to keep them separate. You know, if they skip a layer, and then it gives them that much space. So you could have on one tree bed low layer plants with high layer plants, and then in the following tree bed you could have, say, medium layer plants with emergent layer plants, you know, so things fit in without having to be squeezed in. And obviously we've got the eucalyptus, then we have the avocados and the coffee, right? This is the main ball playing, this is the main players here in the farm. So as you see, the coffee is a bottom layer and the avocado is a high layer, so there's space for the coffee underneath, you know, it's not squeezed in like a citrus with the avocados a little bit tight, and a citrus with the coffee is a little bit tight as that medium layer there. You know, obviously certain varieties of citrus, but if you can see what I'm saying. All right, guys, don't forget to like the video, share with your friends if anything. All right, if you want to support the channel, check out the Patreon. There's a few cool things we do out there. All right, we've also got like our next opportunity for consultancy as well through the Patreon program, like on a higher tier. All right, so reach out to us if you need our help. We've got great news coming in the year ahead, so stay with us and keep it pruned, man.